Dear Dad. Nah. Dear Father. Dear Mister, the biological that didn't bother. How does it feel to be abandoned by your kids and have your son refer to you as Mister? Well, let me just be real with you. That's the best I can do. And I know you don't want to hear from my sister. And truth be told, if you ever wanted to know, your best bet was for you to ask my little brother. Because he was only 2 years old when your heart turned cold and you ran off and left 4 kids on my mother. Growing up, I would never ask where you were and where all this time you've been. I was too afraid to ask when you was alive, so I gotta solicit my thoughts through this paper and pen. But the only problem with that is I ain't got no clue where I should begin. So I guess I'll start with the memories that I had of you before I turned the age of 10. The most vivid thoughts I had of you the entire 32 years of my life is going to child support court when I was only 8 years old, being denied in front of that judge and your new wife. And then, you bought me that little black and gold BMX bike. The one that I just so happened to like. Until one day it got stolen out my backyard. And I must admit that that tragic event made my life hard. And so when you found out a few days later, you sent my mama your JCPenney's credit card and she charged a couple of outfits apiece, a few packs of drawers, a few pair of socks, and for my sisters, a few training bras. And y'all, yeah y'all, you and your wife, y'all put an end to our spending and disappeared from our life. And despite all you ever did or didn't do, I just wanted to be a part of you. But looking back on it now, I think my mama knew that you was going to abandon her for it like you neglected your first 2. And it proved to be true. That a boy like you could never be considered a man. Because before you plant that seed, you got to till that ground and fertilize that land. But you were so ignorant to that plan. You were so dumb to the fact that you just didn't know that the seed you planted in that fallow ground was going to find its own way to grow. And so, when I turned 12 years old, I developed a mind of my own. And Mama said it was okay to contact you because I was just about grown, and so I picked up my phone. I dialed your sister's number and your niece picked up the phone and lied like you wasn't at home. She said when you returned, she'd give you the message to call me back. But I guess over the next 6 years, she didn't give you that message because you ain't never called me back. And that was in 1990. In the next 6 years, nobody heard from you, but somehow in 96, you managed to find me. And you did your best to bribe me. You said you would have came and seen me, but we just lived too far. You said you wanted to come watch me play basketball and you wanted to buy me my first car. And I must admit that being a young 17, I was a little naive. Because the things you told me on the phone that day, I fixed my mind to believe, and we made an arrangement that we was going to meet. You suggested 30 days, but I couldn't wait no longer, so we agreed to do it next week. Because I needed to see for me. I needed to see what this man that called himself Dad was all about. And I needed to see what I was missing all these years that I felt I could no longer do without. I needed to know why when I needed you the most critical time of my life, you didn't seem to care. And I needed to know why when I needed a shoulder to cry, you ensured your shoulder wasn't there. I needed you to tell me it's all right to put my trust in God and to get on my knees and pray. Because prayer wasn't just the answer when you got afflicted with cancer, it was the solution to my problems every day. I needed you to tell me that just because I was a part of this world don't mean I had to be a victim to sin. And it was your place to tell me that Jesus died on the cross that I might be born again. You should have told me it's all right to cry. That won't make me no less of a man. And every time I felt like I couldn't achieve my goals, I needed you to encourage me that I can. I needed you to teach me to be a man and provide me with positivity and provide me with life's most valuable lessons. You should have been there to provide me financial advice and valuable insight instead of sending me through life guessing. And I needed you to tell me that just because I was a man don't mean I can't show affection. Because the average man with a sensitive side is only shown through his erection. I needed you to tell me how to treat a woman and provide me with a positive example. Instead, I'm 32 years old and divorced right now, and I keep running from sample to sample. I needed you to tell me it wasn't cool to school every woman with a dude that wanted to spread her legs. And it was your place to tell me she was freely giving out gifts and I didn't even have to ask her beg. But all I had to do was mislay my head in that AIDS, syphilis, chematic, and gonorrhea-infected bed. I needed you to tell me to put my Jimmy on to help keep my man from getting sick. But you left me alone to figure out on my own that I was prone to catching that epidemic. And when I did catch something, you wasn't around to help transport me to the clinic. I don't need you in the end to tell me how to treat my sickness. I need you in the beginning to tell me how to prevent it. And why weren't you there like everybody else's dad that exposed him to playing sports? Since you wasn't around, the only game that I found was played in the Wayne County juvenile courts. I needed your advice to stay away from drugs. You should have told me it's all right to say no. But instead, the streets got a hold of me at 13 and had me smoking weed and slinging yo. I needed you to tell me to stay in school, continue to read books to increase my knowledge. Because the more books I read, the better chance I receive in securing my way to an Ivy League college. But without fatherly direction, I'm sitting here in reflection. And I wish I could turn back the hands of time. And if I could, I'd put you in that machine and hit rewind back to 1989. Because I want you to feel this pain of mine. I want you to feel this hurt that I constantly feel inside. I want you to see these 32 years of tears that I did my best to hide. And in 2006, Mama told me you died, and I still can't bring myself to cry. I want you to feel what being a victim in physical and mental abuse is like. I want you to see these wounds you inflicted that cut deeper than a double-edged knife. I want you to know what it's like to do no wrong and still get hit with a belt. And even if you don't get it all, I want to ensure you feel half the burden my mama felt. Because the pain she had and the rage she suffered was because I reminded her of you. And at times I really feared for my life because there wasn't no telling what looking at me might make her do. Mama tried to beat that image she saw of you out of me. But that black leather belt can never match the pain that I felt for you not being around to raise me and see me. Make that transition from boy to man. I graduated high school, had my first child, got married before the summer ended. A 19-year-old boy in the grown man world, I had to make a grown man decision. I had to make a choice that was going to affect my life and affect my wife and in turn provide my son with a life worth living. A life that he knew that daddy was all about giving. And he understood that daddy was always going to be there to take care of daddy's business. But sometimes I wonder who's better off, either you or me. Because if I can't pay these bills, I get evicted and my family's out on these streets. And so I'm sitting here wondering, and I ask myself, why should I even bother? When I could be a spitting image, I mean mirror image, and by that I mean a reflection of my father. Yeah, that's right. That means I could be identical to you. But mama said that two wrongs ain't gonna make it right, and I find that advice to be true. And so I gotta do what I gotta do just to let you see that being engaged in my kid's life, it ain't one bit hard for me. So it ain't nothing for me to take my kids outside and throw a ball. I take them to the park, I push them on the swings, and I comfort them when they fall. I talk to my kids when they get out of school, and I ask them how was their day. And before we get into bed at night, we get on our knees as a family and pray. I read a story to them every night before we go to bed. I show them affection by hugging them and telling them I love them by kissing them on their forehead. I introduce them to playing sports. And anything they want to play, I'll make sure I pay their dues. I put a roof over their heads. I put food on their table. And I provide all their clothes and shoes. I tell my baby boys it's all right to cry. Sometimes they need to show emotion. And if they ever need a shoulder to cry, then they got daddies to cry in ocean. Because daddy's listening and daddy's here. And daddy ain't never gone too far to offer his ear. I'm always here. And I'm going to make sure I'm always here talking to my 3 sons about the birds and bees. And I make sure I keep a pack of condoms on hand for when they turn that promiscuous age of 13. And I make sure I tell them just because they got a condom on don't mean they're 100% protected. Because that rapper only say 99.9% and that other percent can mean they infected. And if they ignore the label and they mess around and they just so happen to catch it, then I'm going to be right there to transport them to the doctor to make sure they get disinfected. I'm committed to all this. Because I don't want my kids like me wandering through life with no direction. And so the only way for me to eliminate this strife is by showing them my father's affection. And that's something that I never got from you, but I ain't tripping. I just want you to hear what I got to say. Because without your poor example, I wouldn't be the man that I am and the father that I am to my kids today. This is something that I had on my chest for 32 years, and I failed to get it off before you died. But it's not too late for me to tell you what I gotta say, because the least I can say is that I tried. And so I'm not writing this letter in any way to disrespect you or to let you know that I hate you. Really? I just want to say thank you for not being there, because your absence made me eternally grateful. You taught me the most important lesson that I could ever learn without opening your mouth and saying a word. You taught me how to be a father to my children by not providing a fatherly example that could be readily seen or heard. And so I just want to take this time out to say thank you, Unbiological Father, for not taking the time out to be there and biologically bother. Urban Nights Group.